right, time to get down to the world of heavyweight boxing in December of 2024, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot of information, updates, some upsets, some controversies, and some world heavyweight title matches, ladies and gentlemen. The month of December of 2024, since 50th anniversary of Rumble in the Jungle, you just can't say there's a lot of crazy things happening in the world of professional boxing as we say it right now. But I'd like to point out some interesting information, ladies and gentlemen, because 20 minutes ago, I just realized this right now, is that Clarissa Shields, as 2 weeks ago, it said that Clarissa Shields is going to take on a little bit of a woman of an unknown prospect, 42-year-old named Danielle Perkins, a woman that's 5-0 that had one professional fight in 2020 against an undefeated opponent. She had a couple other fights that a year later, one against a rematch against that woman, and well, she retired. She came back 3 years later in March, a full hiatus, went for a comeback fight. She fought in July the 27th, the same fight where Clarissa Shields became heavyweight champion after a win against Vanessa LePage. And now we come to February the 2nd is where they're going to have a fight. Nothing much for competition, but it seemed interesting enough because they're going to put a WBA title on the line, WBA World Heavyweight title on the line, while having her to defend the WBC belt. But then, after trying to make the podcast, it later realized that they also have the IBF and WBO belt also on the line, meaning this is going to be an undisputed heavyweight championship in women's boxing? Question mark? Which I was really shocked when I first heard about this. I was really shocked because I was just completely out of it. I don't know how. But guys, keep this in mind, guys. The WBC World Heavyweight Champion has always been on the line since day one. Like, for instance, like the WBC belt was already last fought since July the 27th with Vanessa LePage's title defense loss. And Vanessa LePage won in March the 30th against an Argentinian woman. And surprisingly, well, that was about it, because everything else about the WBC belt was somewhat on hiatus during the time. Like, Vonda Ward became the first woman to do so, and she won it. And a woman named Alejandro Jimenez, if that's how her name spells in Mexican, some people think she's actually a man, the same way as that female woman that won the gold medal in the Olympic Games in controversy because people accused her of being a man. And yeah, everything else about also, guys, we also do have reports about the IBF belt was never a title in the heavyweight until 2023, with Lonnie Daniels winning the inaugural title. She defended it some months later against another nobody, and then she vacated it. So yeah, so the WBO and WBA are the only two titles that were never in the women's heavyweight division. But in all fairness, guys, it's also the same thing as the light heavyweight division, because the WBO and WBA are on the line as titles, which is how Clarissa Shields became the WBO light heavyweight champion, and that same day on the 27th. So it is interesting enough already. Also, Martha Salazar was heavyweight champion of the WBC in 2014 until Alejandro defeated her with that belt in 2016, and said before she defended it a few more times against Charlotte EU, and then she defeated Vanessa LePage in 2017, which made LePage retire but come back in 2023 and blah blah blah. And then Hannah Gabriels won the belt in April the 21st against Martha Laura Gayton in a round 2 knockout. So yeah, it's pretty spaced out. And then, of course, like I said before, it took them 3 years again for LePage to win that belt and then lose it. So now they're putting this on the line as a world heavyweight title. Yeah. By the way, the last time they ever had a world heavyweight title on the line with the WBC was back in California, in San Francisco in 2014 with Salazar's win. And then it takes them under 10 years later until they go to Michigan, Detroit, with Clarissa Shields winning. And now they're bringing it back again this year in February the 2nd. So, yeah. It's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. But, guys, the real history of the heavyweight division is this. The first title we like to take around tour, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have a new face in boxing. And that is the WBA heavyweight champion, Kubrat Pulev. Now, guys, this video and this episode, which might be 30 to 40 minutes long, which I'm expecting to make it long, not a long video, we have Kubrat Pulev fighting against Mahmoud Achar in his backyard, Pulev's backyard of Sofia, Bulgaria. The Cobra has been in boxing since 2009 for 15 years. Mahmoud Achar did since 2005, has been a few hiatuses in his career. Ever since 2006, he was accused and somewhat questioned due to a knife attack in 26, but there was not a lot of evidence, so he was let go. Took a couple years off in boxing at the time because of that. Took another hiatus in 2017 and such by the end of that year, and took 4 years off, came back in 2021, had one fight, did it a year later, has a couple more fights in 2022, took a hiatus again for over 2 years until December this year, and yeah. And Sofia Hall in Sofia, Bulgaria is an interesting event, ladies and gentlemen, and even though I don't want to talk about this show, but I might as well talk about the fight, because it's a really interesting topic. So this was live on DAZN, which is good because we need all the viewerships we can have. Mahmoud Achar and Kubrat Pulev have been on a slow downward spiral. Achar's career has been, he's defeated a few undefeated fighters in his run. Since Pulev's loss against Chisora in their rematch was pretty interesting enough, it takes him a year and a half. He takes on Andrew Varchek, a guy that should have had a fight with Deontay Wilder in 2017 and lost due to a drug test. He lost a fight in his coming back from boxing, his second loss. He wins against a nobody fighter. And that 10-round fight by decision was so lame in December for the 14th that year with Pulev defeating him. So it was tough enough already to believe that Pulev had what it takes. He was going to take on Char in March the 30th for a heavyweight champion. But Ihor, the Hulk, from Ukraine would take over for having to fight Pulev because of Char's bicep injury. And, well, Kubrat Pulev decided to be smart. I don't think Pulev was... Pulev is not a knockout artist. He's not that much of knockouts, but goes decision easily. So he dominated the 10-round fight pretty easily in that fight. So... mostly that was about it, and now we have the fight against these two guys and the WBA regular heavyweight champion, and I still count it as a major just for the fun of it. So the competition in the division that night, the card, we had some wins against a lightweight fighter, a middleweight fighter. We had an 8-0 named Alexander Harisiev that won his 9th professional fight against a journeyman type fighter. We had a 27-0 Mohamed Bakadesh getting his 28th win by second round KO against another journeyman type person from Germany. And the destroyer, Mohamed Bakadesh, I need to see better competition from you, man. You've been in boxing for 9 years since 2015, and now you're 28-0, 24 knockouts. The destroyer, that's a southpaw fighter, also born in Syria. You have to get in better competition, man. I want to believe you. We also have a Vasayo Kabatari from the super welterweight that picked up his win against a guy in his last 6 fights, all by losses. And I want to see better competition with this guy. He's from Moldova, so good luck with him. Petar Dragunov defeats Juan Antonio Lianes, 11-0-1 fighter, defeats him by round 4 TKO in the final seconds of the 4th round. It was an 8-round fight. He's now rated number 100 in the super welterweight, the Bulgarian of Petar Dragunov. It was a good win for him. That was his first undefeated opponent. That was over 10 fights, so congrats for him winning. But I do want to see Petar get a better competition fighter after that win, so good luck with him. Even a middleweight fighter that's named Gleb Bakshi defeats a 21-1 fighter named Juan Manuel Taborda by round 7 TKO. Dominated 7 rounds into that 10-round fight. The guy picked up his 5th win, undefeated. But yet again, I do want to see better competition from him because it's probably for the best. So there was no heavyweight, there was no world titles or minor titles on the line that day. I think there were, but only one we're just talking about, and that's the main event. But I do want to see other competition with that guy in the future, just to point that out. But yeah, Gleb Bakshi, good job picking up your fifth win. I do want to see better competition. He is rated number 99 in the world of middleweight. He is from Serbia, born in Ukraine. So, but he has been in the fights for now 2 years now, and his competition resume is not bad. Like his third professional fight was against a 17-1 fighter, which I later looked him up, and he was nothing but a hype job contender. So that was a waste. But yet again, he just takes on this guy as well. So half of his competitors are journeyman fighters, but in his first 5 professional fights, that's not bad. But I do want to see better competition, but I do want to give that guy Gleb Bakshi just a few more years until he's like maybe in 2027. We'll see where he goes in the future. But I do want to give those boxers a chance to make it big in the show one day. So we just hope they'll make it big. But wait again, guys. We are 11 minutes into this podcast. Kubrat Pulev versus Manuel Achar. So Manuel Achar, like guys, when Manuel Achar enters the ring, he's playing his theme song, and not much of an interesting theme to talk about. Some fans didn't like it. Like Kubrat Pulev enters the ring first as the challenger, and he plays with his theme song. The fans love it as his hometown, and pretty much it's pretty interesting enough. Also, the promoter's name is Ivalio Gotzev. He's a promoter that's been in the promotion of boxing for just some years, for barely 15 years, but since his first promotion in 2009, he never came back until 5 years later, which they were in the US. He did some in 2018 and 2019, 2020, but he took a 4-year hiatus, barely did promotions, did the March the 30th pay-per-view with Kubrat and Ihor. So, yeah, this was his 10th promotion, and he's won 0 world titles at this point until now. So, the fight starts out differently, guys. Kubrat Pulev, a fighter that might not be much of a fighter, but still he did have more ability. Like I wouldn't say he was a dangerous opponent, but there were times that he did have a good amount of heart to be in the ring for what he was. He was decent. Like the first round comes in, they're jabbing out punches to each other. It's even enough for both fighters that they were doing a good job. I think the only thing I didn't like about this fight is that the referee that's from the country of Monaco, he wasn't giving them a chance. It's like every time both boxers were fighting closer to each other, even though they weren't clinching, the referee just steps in to pushes them back. Like there wasn't a lot of like the fight was not boring. It was just that the referee was giving the fighters a hard time fighting closer together, and it just seemed like they couldn't get nothing done. Pulev was putting in a good job keeping the jab on, and at this moment I was like, if Char could throw one devastating punch to Pulev, this would be a completely different fight, depending what country you're fighting in. That's the problem. But yeah, we come into the next round, and the first round was decent. It was a decent, good round for both fighters. It was an even type round. We come to round 2, and it was somehow pretty interesting for what it was. They both study each other as, like I said before. I'm not going to get into all the details because this fight isn't that much talking about, because I want to talk about the real fight on December the 21st. But we come into the second round, and it was a both even affair of changes for both of them guys. They were putting in good work onto each other in the second round. And to be honest, Manuel did a good job in that round. The third round, I couldn't pay attention to, guys, because there's time when I actually went online. My internet almost crashed at one point for some reason in the third round, and it was hard. And when I got the internet back, I was looking at Manuel Char putting in some good effort works at the time, so I gave him round 3. Some people say, a lot of people said that round three was for Poev, but I guess my internet was busted up crazy that I gave the round to Poev. I mean Char, but yeah, it was confusing. But yeah, round four and Mostly was for Poev, and then I gave the round to round five for Char. There were times that it was hard because there were some times that I couldn't see if there was a lot of a counter or punches for both fighters. It seemed like Poev was winning the round. It seemed like Char was putting in closer details in the fights after those rounds. And by the end of round six, I had the fight 3-3 apiece for both guys, depending on who you ask. But yet again, it's wasn't that much of a hard thing to settle with because the last six rounds, it seemed like Char was getting tired because he started throwing uppercuts and a lot of wild punches that gone nowhere. Like Poev was just dodging punches that were so wide away from upstairs, downstairs that Char just couldn't find the mark. It's like Poev was backing his opponent up, doing this or that. He was studying the distance of Char easily into this fight. Like he dominates round 7, he dominates round 8. He comes into round 10 that seemed like it was a pretty tough round to judge on. And there's one point in round 10 that seemed like it was a pretty interesting close round, but it seemed like Poev won. But I just gave the round to Char just for the fun of it, just to see what would happen. Yeah, I'm like one of those three judges that just likes to give away rounds for the other fighter that didn't win. So I was an idiot. But yeah, the last two rounds in round 11, round 12 were definitely Poev rounds. So I had the fight 116 to 112. But to be honest, guys, Poev was just studying the leverage. He was throwing great two punch combinations. And Char, there were sometimes early in the round that he was moving his head back and forth, but there were times that he wasn't throwing a lot of punches, but even when he did try to throw wild punches and uppercuts, and even sometimes they were just doing a good job just handling each other because it was tough. Because every time both fighters get close to each other, like I said before, the referee pushes them back, gives them warning. It was bad to see the referee just stop the fighters even when they weren't throwing clinches. There were sometimes that they had their arms caught into their heads sometimes, and it gets annoying sometimes. So there were problems later in the fight, which did got tiring because both guys are in their 40s and they're fighting for a world heavyweight title. It's pretty ridiculous. So yeah, I did have problems with this fight, but yet again, it was pretty decent. Two judges had 117 to 111. One had it 116 to 112. Go figure. And the winner was Kubrat Pulev. Kubrat Pulev became the first Bulgarian male to ever win a world title, and in the heavyweights. If you viewers do look up world champions in Bulgaria, Bulgaria only has two Bulgarians in BoxRec that are world champions, and they are both females. One of them was a female in the 2000s that one fought for women's IBF and women's IBA titles, and mostly I don't want to say there was nothing much to talk about there, other than if you look up the Bulgarian champions, because I did put information out um, for the heck of it. When I looked it up, one second, let me look it up on BoxRec because there is a chance that it's online here from country. Country. No. Bulgarian. Bulgarian. No. Bulgarian. No. Crap. Where's. Here it is. Yeah, Bulgarian world champions. And the first Bulgarian was Daisy Lang, a woman that fought in the 1996 to 2004. Her career wasn't much of a win. She only became the women's IBF, the WIBF World Super Flyweight Champion. Defended it a bunch of times and such. Lost, but still. And she became the first woman to ever do in Bulgarian, to be honest. And she had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Man, 10 title defenses. Oh wait, she also became the world bantamweight. Oh, that was like 6 title changes. Interesting. Yeah, and then another woman goes by the name of Galina Koeva, a woman that became the last Bulgarian until this month to become a Bulgarian champion. And she actually won the legitimate major titles. Even though her resume and record is 16-16-4 is her bad record, she became a women's IBF super flyweight champion, legit. But of course, real titles came in some years later when she won global champion. She became the WBC world bantamweight champion with the women's IBF in 2009 by split decision. So, but of course, her career came to an end with a bunch of losses at the time. But yeah, she won the legit major title until 15 years later when Pulev did it. So good for them. So yeah, only Bulgarian females, two of them have became champions in representing their country, and Kubrat Pulev has did it, made history. So 43 years old. It's probably good if he retires. I just don't think it's good to see him with Alexander Usyk, and I don't think Alexander Usyk should fight no more. Yeah, and speaking about that, I think it's probably for the best to talk about that right now because this is the moment where I realize the real episode comes here. I want to talk more about Kubrat Pulev and Manuel Achar, but yet again, I don't want to make this a long episode because the real reason I'm here is to talk about the real heavyweight champion and the controversies. So let's talk about it. December the 21st, 2024. The event of the name is called Reignited. Reignited. That's the name of the pay-per-view or the event. Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, and Spencer Brown are promoters of this show, with Steve Furness, the matchmaker, and British Boxing Board of Control are the commissioners, with an itchy nose I have right now. That's going to be great. Sorry. The fight on the card is pretty decent. Mohamed Alakel had his first professional fight some time ago this year, and his second professional fight against a wide jobber. He picks up his second win. Congratulations to this guy from Saudi Arabia. He's a super featherweight ranked number 780, number one in his country because he's the only Saudi Arabian fighter, so good luck with him if he makes it. But the real story comes with Johnny Fisher defeating David Allen after David Allen knocked down Fisher in round 5. And for some reason, two of the judges' scorecards, even though one of them had it 96-93, favoring David Allen, which is actually the fairest scorecard of the show, but the other two had it 95-94, both favoring Johnny Fisher. And when watching the fight, it was ridiculous because Johnny Fisher is 12-0 at this time, and David Allen's career has taken on a bunch of nobody fighters that he's won, but the people that he has taken on there, somebody's are just too good for him, and he was just not in his game. But guys, the first 4 rounds in competition, when seeing how Johnny Fisher was in that fight competition, he was taking it easy in the several rounds. And then round 4, it looked like he was going to try to finish it off. Give me some Pepsi here. But yet again, he comes to round 4, and then he decides to try to finish it. He tires himself so badly that David Allen goes for the attack in round 5 and knocks him down. And surprisingly, in round 6, 7, 8, 9, he gets beat up so badly, it was really an embarrassment. Now, round 10 was a pretty close round that Fisher did finish strongly, and it seemed like David Allen didn't have enough to finish that round on with him. In my opinion, if he did manage to get round 10 at the end, I think the fight would have been different because I did give Fisher that 10th round, unfortunately, making it 95-94 and favoring David Allen. And I had a feeling 2 of those last judges that had it were 85-85 coming into the 10th and final round, and surprisingly, those judges gave it to Fisher. That's my opinion. That's what I think. I do believe that was the reason for that. They might have gave in some 2 extra rounds at the end, but yeah, who knows? The WBC International Heavyweight title also had undefeated 13-0 Adri Novitsky defeating Edgar Ramirez by 10 rounds of unanimous decision. That was an easy win to talk about. Can't say much about it. Andre is a 14-0, number 71 in the heavyweights right now. So good luck with him. It's a decent fight for a starter. And by the way, guys, it is going to be interesting because another heavyweight fight is going to make it more interesting. But we'll get to that in just a second. Lee McGregor defeats Isaac Lowe with the WBC International Featherweight title vacant. Not a bad win for him there. A little bit of an upset there. And then we come into an interesting win against Peter McGrail. Gets his 10-round domination, or not so, because he did got cut above the right eye in round 3 by Rice Edwards. And that fight ended with the scorecards being 96-95, and the other two going 96-94, favoring a unanimous decision against Peter. Interesting win there. Daniel Lapine went for an IBF International Light Heavyweight title, dominating a Dylan Cullen, 14-0. Daniel Lapine gets his 11th win on the board. Barely at 175 pounds even in that fight, representing the country of Ukraine, and he's ranked number 41 in the light heavyweight division as we speak. Not bad. Also, Serhil Balchuk defeats Ismail Davis by round 6 of cornerman retirement. By the end of that round, he did knock out Davis in the second round, and it was an easy win. But the last two heavyweight fights are surprisingly enough, where we have a guy that goes by the name of Moses Itama, a young guy claiming to be the youngest to win World Heavyweight Champion since Mike Tyson in 1996. And it's just crazy when you look at it for what it is. I just felt bad watching this fight because I just felt bad. Because you have an Australian that lost his first fight against Hrgovic, a guy that should have won the title. He comes out to that fight. He's getting beaten up. He comes into the first several minutes of the fight. He's not controlling himself. He doesn't know the defensive. And Moses Itama is dominating him. He drops him down early in the fight. And then the fight ends with only like at 1 minute, 20 seconds left of the fight. Moses fakes to go downstairs. He fakes down and then goes high and throws a wild left, scares out Dempsey McKean. Down goes McKean, hits the ground. Like when you see the replay, seeing Moses, he goes under, fakes under, and then just go left. It was a wild, great punch. It was crazy. Dempsey gets back up, but then one of the guys in his corner steps one leg on the ring. He's trying to tell him to stop it. The referee didn't see it when he counted to 6, but someone does throw in the towel, or we thought, and then stops the fight. And at this moment, Dempsey, yeah, I just feel bad for Dempsey. I just thought he was a guy that had a shot, but after his loss against Filip Hrgovic, it just seems like he wasn't the same guy again. It stinked, but yet again, it is what it is. And, yeah. But yet again, my point is, it just goes to show you what your career would be like, and I really can't argue about that. I really can't. Moses Itama, he's now 11-0. He has some months to go until he tries to make it to a Mike Tyson record, but that can only work if they can actually get the title stripped, because there's no way we'll have a title with him and Usyk. And besides, Usyk doesn't want to fight anymore, or some people think, but we'll get to that in just a second. At the same time, yes, his title fights are not that much to talk about. Like, it's really interesting, but yet again, I really can't say that there's much to it. But yet again, who knows? Who knows? Like, his resume is not that bad, but yet again, I do want to see Itama fight another fighter and before he gets big. But yet again, who knows? I don't think he's ready, but yet again, if they're trying to break a record in boxing, you can break Floyd Patterson's record. It still doesn't mean you don't have to be the youngest. Like, history is history. So yeah, who knows? Anyway, guys, it's time to get to the heavyweight championship, and that's Alexander Usyk defending his titles against Tyson Fury. This is his 4th title defense in boxing for heavyweights. Well, mostly the WBO and WBA, but yet again, I really can't say that to be certain because the real history is the controversy. So guys, the fight goes on interestingly. I was gonna write notes like I did in my last episode a long time when I wrote a bunch of notes down, and I did wrote halfway through until I gave up, thinking to myself, wait a minute, is this fight gonna end in controversy the same way as how Johnny Fisher won in controversy? Because at this moment there are some people that were questioning a controversial win here for Tyson Fury after what happened to Johnny Fisher and David Allen. And I don't blame them because I was thinking, I was scared as well, having the same problem. And it seemed like that's what we were going to get. We were going to get that in this show. So Tyson Fury comes in at 281 pounds, the heaviest in his career. Alexander Usyk, 226, the heaviest in his career. But yet again, it makes sense because there's a bridgeweight title at 225. Bah, I hate it. I hate it. Both guys come into the fight as a real dangerous duo of just crazy. They're both. This was a fight betwixt real competition here because there's a lot of interesting. Like a lot of interesting things were coming into this fight as for what it was, but at this moment, when thinking about watching this from start to finish, there were some interesting things I was a little bit thinking of. How tough was this going to be, depending if there was a chance that I was going to see an upset in boxing? Because at this moment, it seemed like Usyk, his body was in a good shape than Tyson Fury, and 281 pounds, I don't know, because it just seemed like it was not that good. But guys, you know what makes this really bad for me? Guys, some days before the fight, they went to a press conference, and one person in the audience in the press conference says to Tyson Fury that you're not fighting for glory. This isn't for fame. This isn't for getting your belts back. You're not doing this for fame anymore. What are you doing now? And Tyson Fury throws out some horrible slant saying, I'm gonna knock this guy out. He says some swear words. He's not talking like the Tyson Fury that we know and love as a humor guy. He's taking it too seriously. The way Tyson Fury talks is like his mind is just not there anymore. And it's so bad to just see that. It's not fun. It's just not fun. I hate it. By the way, before we get to the show, I like to point out the tail of the tape kind of made me laugh a little bit when I looked at the tail of the tape because but what's actually crazy, because I was a little bit surprised when trying to see the weight. And even though 6'9" and 6'3" for Tyson and Usyk, and Usyk's a 78 reach advantage, 85 for Fury, and like I said, 281 and 226. Fury's 36 and Usyk's 37 years old, so it depends on the age difference. But yet again, two guys that are not in their primes as they used to be, and Fury is not the guy that did some awesome flicking a jab and craziness like he did to Vladimir Klitschko 9 years ago. So I had a feeling this was going to be different, unless that there was going to be some controversial changes into the judges. So I was afraid of that. I was afraid of that because of the Johnny Fisher and David Allen. And they come into this fight in the first round, and Usyk starts out with the first punch, and Fury grabs it, steps away, and there were times that Usyk was stepping in and throwing interesting punches half the time. There weren't some clean punches, not a lot of punches that were connected, and Fury was coming in, scaring him off a little bit. And the first round seemed a little bit interesting. I gave it to round one for Usyk, but the boxing commentators had it round one for Fury, and a couple of judges had it round one as well. So, but yet again, it was a close round. And I had for round two where Usyk again was doing a good job firing back in some rounds, even though both Fury were stunning each other. They were landing multiple punches to each other in the first couple rounds. The final seconds of the second round is where Fury scared me when he actually landed an amazing couple punch combination into Usyk, and Usyk stumbled a little bit in the final seconds. which was kind of interesting when I first saw that. So that was a pretty interesting moment there. But I think he did it a little bit too soon because Usyk was taking landing punches. But yet again, I did give the round to Usyk. And at this moment, I was like, why are the commentators saying Fury won the second round? I don't know. And why is my nose itching so much for no reason? I don't know. I don't know why my nose is itching so much. But yeah, we come to round three, and Fury does come out with an amazing barrage of other punches. They did. Like, it's kind of weird that at first I was thinking to myself that Fury is going to scare Usyk with some uppercuts, which there were times that he did do in the fight, and somehow he did it. But yet again, it just seemed like Usyk knew where he was going, misses, and he did got the third round in my opinion, but Usyk did come out in the fourth round, got a good payback onto him, and kind of did a good job for what he did, and landed out some good punches, and that was the first dominating round for Usyk, and that won't be the last. And then we come to round five, and the real story comes. Like round four, like I said before, there's some great upper punches in this at the time, and then we come to round five, where around 2 minutes left in the fight, where like we're almost a minute into the fight, where Fury gets a clean uppercut and stumbles Usyk, and he finishes out the round with ease. And it might have been one of Fury's better rounds and his only dominating round, because he dominated that round easily. I just think that if Fury actually capitalized in the sixth round because of that, this would have been a whole different story. But he doesn't. What does Usyk do? From round 6 to round 12 is when the real story hits. Usyk comes out of nowhere, demolishes him, and in the last 30 seconds of the sixth round, he throws an amazing punch that stumbles out Fury upstairs with a right. They go counterclockwise around each other. And in the seventh round, with 1 minute left of the round, I realized that there was another hard, great punching of combinations. And even later in other rounds, in the eighth and so on, like, it was a pretty interesting encounter of crazy offensive. Like in round 9, there was a chance that Fury was actually doing a good job. He was landing out great punches. He was actually taking this round to the end, and he was doing a good job, because in round 9, it seemed like Fury was doing a pretty good job for what he was doing. He comes out of nowhere. He's landing great punches into the around Usyk. But then in the last 15 seconds, Usyk comes out of nowhere and just dominates some last punches. And, well, in the last minute of that ninth round, when he actually hurt out Usyk at the point. But, yeah, yet again, it looked like I gave that round to Usyk. But when reviewing the fight back right now, it seemed like it was a Fury round. So as of right now, I gave the round to Fury. But during the night when I was there, I gave it to Usyk. But, yeah, it was definitely a Fury round. But yeah, you can tell that every time when you think that you're about to win a round, Usyk comes back out of nowhere and tries to steal the round from you. And he actually did that in round 10. It looked like Fury was going to win round 10 as well, but Usyk was just finishing the round with all the start. Every time you go to the final seconds or a minute of every round, Usyk just tries to take the round away from you. And that's what I like about round 9 and round 10. You come to round 11 and round 12, and it was all Usyk. Like, guys, I wish I could talk about the fight more, but I can't, because at the end of the day, the controversy is what makes this interesting for me to talk about. Like, I wish I could talk more about the fight, but there's more ridiculous stuff to talk about. Because, guys, at this moment, I gave the round as a round for everyone else, because, like I said before, I gave Tyson Fury round 3, round 5, and round 9. Okay? And even though some people said that round 1 and round 2 might have been a Fury round, and some fans do agree with that, and I disagree with it, but at the end of the day, you could say that. But yet again, guys, you can't say that Usyk was putting in better work in this fight. And that's the truth. It's the truth. You have to understand this one thing. And it's that one thing. It's this. Is that Fury dominated one round. But remember this. I did say this won't be the only time. Like when we come to round 4, it's not going to be the only time Usyk's going to dominate a fight. He dominated round 4 pretty good. But round 6, 7, 8, 11, and 12 were dominating rounds for Usyk. He dominated 6 rounds in that fight. Yes, round 1 and round 2 were starter-up fights. They were just trying to match each other to see who's going to fight first and who does this and who does that. Round 3 was the same thing. Round 9 and round 10 were also close round fights. You could say who won. Wow, Fury. So you could say that. So at this moment, if you want to say you want to give those rounds to Fury, then fine. The score is 6-6 even. But yet again, I don't think all judges would agree with that. And not everyone would give you a free round for that. So it makes sense. I gave it 117 to 111. Well, I'd give it 118 to 110 that night, but some days later I just gave it 117 to 111. Some people believe it was 114 to 115, as some scores say, but people do say it was 115 to 113. But most people say it was 116 to 112. At the end of the day, it was an easy fight to judge for Usyk. 6 dominating rounds were easy to say Usyk won half of those rounds by domination. And Frank Warren and everyone else from Tyson Fury, they're telling us, the fight was fixed. It's crazy that after the fight, all 3 judges scored 116 to 112, and I was freaking out. I was thinking to myself, oh, great, we're going to have a controversial decision. Thank God we didn't. And Frank Warren comes up, as one interview comes up to Warren holding on to the score sheet card, talking about, how one of the judges actually gave Fury, like in the last 7 rounds or 6 rounds of the fight, one judge gave the round to Fury in the 10th round, in the 9th round, and one other judge gave it in the 12th round for Fury. There were no points being scored in the last 7 rounds for God knows why. There was so much controversy, and then you go to the press conference that night, and Fury is throwing all this stuff of this or that, talk, and telling how it was a Christmas gift for Usyk. He won. It was a Christmas gift. It was even crazy that Usyk went to the press conference that day, and one of the interviewers told him that Fury said that this was a Christmas gift for him. And Usyk comes out and says, well, thank you. I would say thank you, God. Not for Fury, thank you, God. Like guys, Usyk is a gentleman. Like, that's all I can say. Usyk is a real gentleman. I wish I could talk about this more, but there's so much controversy that it's hard for me to understand. I've watched so many videos on YouTube of people in the interview talking about who won the fight, who won this, who won that. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous because of everything else. And it's so bad that I can't stop itching my nose because I'm talking too much. It was just there's so much crazy stuff here. By the way, guys, fun fact, the total purse was reported at the time of this fight was to be 199 million US dollars, which is reported. People reported that this was actually reported as this fight and total, and the gate was 191 million US dollars, which is like 150 million euros or something. I don't know what that was. That's how much it was for each fighter to earn was a purse split at the time. Like, I did look up that the first fight that Fury got 70% of the money and Usyk got 30% of the first fight, which was worth it. But yet again, I really can't say much about it because, like I said before, the report suggested that the overall purse bid was amount of $150 million, with Fury talking roughly 70% of it and reported. But for the rematch, that was the first fight. The second fight was 191, and while the split was not been disclosed, with Usyk should earn a greater percentage if he may, as an A side during the moment. But yet again, yeah. So that's all I have to say about this entire show. And it was also speculated that the purse split was either 55-45 or 60-40 in favor of Usyk. And the manager of Alexander, his manager at the time, denied these speculations, that we did not have a specific purse distribution. We have certain agreements, that Tyson Fury has agreements with the organizers that Usyk has agreements with the organizers that I don't know how much money Tyson will receive. I've read about it on the internet, but what I read, sorry, does not correspond to reality. And to be honest, I couldn't find it neither. And by the way, guys, as looking this up on BoxRec right now, this is the first time I've read this. I looked up the total punches on speculation. They actually gave us a couple bucks to know how many punches were total. Huh. Total punches landed. Oh yeah, Usyk landed 16 punches with 11 punches to Fury, 12 punches into the third round. Fury got 11. Interesting enough. By the way, they also had an AI computer at the time that they also said there was an AI computer basis also judging the fight, and they actually told Fury in the press conference that the score was 119 to 112, with Fury saying F the computers, F this or that, and also F gas electric cars. And that's one thing I will respect about Tyson Fury in the press conference after the fight. F the electric cars, F the computer, leave it to the humans. And you know what? I give 100% respect for Tyson Fury, but everything else he said in the press conference, I'm sorry. But yeah, the electric cars, I'll give him credit. So yeah, keep that in mind. But yeah, round four was 11 punches for Fury in that fight, man. 8 power punches, six of them for Usyk. Dang, okay, so, oh man, so Fury kind of landed more punches in the fourth round dang, this is crazy. So only 11 rounds were won by Usyk by landing more punches, even power punches. Jesus. This is crazy. What the heck? I did not know this. So technically, we have 10 rounds. Round 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 were rounds that Usyk landed more punches. Round 1 was even. They both landed 6 punches. Round 4 was one round that Fury was landing 11 and Usyk for 10. Dang. That's crazy. And like I said before, Usyk had a lot better work on this. So also, guys, here's another thing. ESPN agency of Mike Coppinger gave this fight 115 to 113 for Usyk. The Independent of Jack Rathborn gave it 116 to 112 for Usyk. MMA Fighting, Brian Tucker had it 115 to 113 for Usyk. The New York Times of Luke Brown had it 117 to 111 for Usyk. Hey, that's my man. I agree with that. 116 to 112 favorite for Usyk by Brent Brookhouse from CBS Sports. The Sporting News of Tom Gray had it 116 113 for Usyk. And the Bad Left Hook of Scott Christ had it 116 to 112 for Usyk. So, wow. 7 people from live agencies all favored it for Usyk. That's crazy. I don't know what to say because my nose can't stop itching me. That's just ridiculous. Yeah, guys, if you guys go to BoxRec and go to fight 317-5360 of redirected of the second meeting of Usyk versus Fury, you'll find the information if you go to Usyk's page on BoxRec or Fury's page. This is crazy. Dang. Well, that's all I have to say about this podcast, even though I'm 48 minutes into this podcast. So I'm going to say thank you for... Oh, yeah. That's one thing. I almost forgot to end this podcast with only almost one thing. I have one more other thing to talk about before ending this podcast. As Alexander Usyk is celebrating his win, and I want to end this because my nose can't stop itching me, Fury leaves the ring without getting interviewed. He's in disappointment. He doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to do this or that. I understand. And even though, like I said before, Frank Warren and other British people and such, Tom Fury and everyone else are saying that Fury won the fight, but yet again, when it comes to Fury's team, they got to defend it because of it. It's the way boxing goes. Someone once told me in the comments, it's boxing and boxing shenanigans or whatever that, fanatics or whatever you call it. Human beings, we're human beings. We do that a lot. People always come up with lies. That's the way the world goes, I guess. But yeah, Usyk is being interviewed, and out of nowhere comes Daniel Dubois. And when watching this, I was like, go F yourself, Daniel Dubois. Are you freaking kidding me? I was upset that Daniel Dubois comes into the ring because he already has an IBF world title fight against a former WBO world heavyweight champion, Joseph Parker, to fight in February the 22nd. And that's one show I'm interested in watching as well. In February, he's saying that I want to fight you. He congratulates Usyk for the win, but he wants to fight him. Usyk is like, who the hell is this guy? Is this the guy that I actually beat his butt last year ago? And then he just comes out, tells out their teams, hey, I want to fight him. But at this moment, just forget about fighting, man. I just want to see Moses Atama try to become the youngest champion and get his butt beat in a heavyweight title match. I don't want to see another rematch with another British guy that already had his shot for a title. Like, golly, go away. Like, dude, just forget about Alexander Usyk. Like, dude, I was really upset that Daniel Dubois took his butt into the ring. Guys, let me be clear with you viewers. I don't want to see another British boxer in the heavyweights again. Guys, we have so many... Guys, I don't want to repeat this. Guys, I hate repeating my crap again, but here's the thing. Agit Kabayel, Martin Bacall, Zhuyi Zhang, Otto Wallin, Murat Gassiv, Justice Hooney, Filip Hrgovic, Gildo Vianello, Morad Aliyev, Vladimir Serenko, Nelson Heisa, friggin' Kem Lundquist. Like, what do all of these guys have in common? They're from countries that don't get title shots, and they might never become a heavyweight champion because they're not from Britain or they're not from the USA. They're from different countries around the world that don't have a chance to get a title shot in their life, and their talent will be gone for life because of this bullcrap. Dude, Alexander Usyk had already had 2 matches with AJ, 2 matches with Tyson, both of them going 24 rounds. Usyk already defeated Dubois in 9 rounds and dominated him. Yes, the body punch was a controversy in that fight, but still, Daniel Dubois should have capitalized on it. It was his goddamn fault for losing it by a 9-round knockout. I don't want to see another fight. Jesus. And the way the fight ended was Usyk just throwing a good left-right jab, God knows what jab he threw, and it brought Daniel Dubois down. I don't want to see that. It's boring. It's so bad to just see that. It's so bad, and it upsets me so much. Like, I don't need to see Daniel Dubois again. Like, and besides, guys, if Daniel Dubois wants to have a shot with Usyk again, he has to take on Joseph Parker first on February the 22nd. And the odds of me believing that Joseph Parker will win that fight is 50-50. Like, Joseph Parker might not be the best boxer ever, but he does have the kryptonite to go into a distance fight, depending on how injured he is, just like the Joe Joyce fight. But that doesn't mean he gives up. He continues no matter when he goes the distance. He barely survived Zhuyi Zhang getting knocked down twice and barely won by a close decision, which I believe it was a pretty close fight by 1 point. You can't say that Joe Joyce is still a tough dude. Like, Dubois is still in his prime, but the odds of him winning this fight against Joseph Parker is a 50-50. On the other hand, guys, we have another heavyweight title fight for the WBC Interim World Heavyweight title, and that's Zhuyi Zhang versus Agit Kabayel. Like, even though Agit Kabayel is from Germany, and we have 2 German heavyweight champions, Max Schmeling and Mahmoud Achar, and we might see a third one, Zhuyi Zhang is in his country of China, have 0 world heavyweight title fights. I just wish Alexander Usyk should just say, hey, strip the titles and just get rid of that WBC interim title and just give the WBC World Heavyweight title shot to Zhuyi Zhang and Agit Kabayel in February the 22nd in Saudi Arabia by Bob Arum, Tom Brown, Oscar De La Hoya, Eddie Hearn, Benjamin Shalom, and Frank Ward Promotions. Like, it's crazy. And that promotion is going to have Artur Beterbiev defend his undisputed title against Dimitri Bivol. Carlos Adams will take on Hamza Shiraz for the WBC World Middleweight Champion. Virgil Ortiz Jr. will have the WBC Interim World Super Welterweight against Israel Madrimov, former super welterweight champion. Shakur Stevenson is going to try to prove himself that he's not a bum against Floyd Schofield, which I hope Schofield wins that fight. And Joshua Buatsi fights against Callum Smith for the WBO interim world light heavyweight title. So that's going to be a good fight on the card, but I just wish that Alexander Usyk should just say, you know what, I'm going to quit. There's no need for another British fight. You know what upsets me the most? The only heavyweight fights that Alexander Usyk has ever fought in titles are all British fighters. Like, yeah, he took on Chaz Witherspoon in 2019, but that was a non-title nothing. It was just a warm-up fight to start. And besides, Chaz Witherspoon was already a last-minute replacement. And he was a bum. No offense. Like, Derek Chisora was British, but yeah, again, there was no heavyweight title on the line except a minorweight title. And even though Tony Bellew was in the cruiserweight undisputed champ, which was still a tough fight for him, I just don't like it. I don't like it. It's, guys, Alexander Usyk's heavyweight fights in 2020 was Derek Chisora in 2020, 2021 AJ, 2022 again AJ, friggin' Dan DeBlanc in 2023, and 2 for Tyson Fury, 6 fights, and at this moment people are saying, well, it's time for Alexander Usyk to retire. It might be father time. He doesn't have it anymore. I think it's probably for the best to do so. He has nothing to gain for. He's already proven to be the best. Like, there's no way Daniel DeBlanc has what it takes. He barely went out there in the first fight when he lost against Joe Joyce and had injuries. He barely had a broken leg in the Kevin Loranda fight in December of 2022, getting knocked down 3 times for the WBA regular champion. And I'm surprised they didn't stop the fight, how the referee gave him a bunch of chances to survive for 2 rounds later and won. He didn't even capitalize on the controversial body shot he gave to Usyk in that fight and just had Usyk beat the crap out of him, thinking, well, I'm going to give up. There's no proof. There's no money in it to be made. Guys, I want to see Zhou Zhang and Ajit Caballel fight for the WBC World Heavyweight title. Not the interim, the world. Why? Because we can make money out of this for international television broadcast, not just for Germany, but for China. Guys, you know how many viewership numbers came when Samuel Peter was the world heavyweight champion in the mid of 2000s when he won the WBA title? Samuel Peter was from Nigeria. And Samuel Peter did the amazement of becoming the first Nigerian boxer and the only Nigerian boxer to become heavyweight champion. And he did it in amazement. Like, he did it in Mexico against, I forgot who the fighter's name is. I'm going to look it up. And even though he is in Las Vegas, Nevada, as the Nigerian Nightmare, but still, there's nothing to talk about there. I'm not here to go for that. But yeah, you come out there and you think that there's nothing to be talked about. Like, yes, America and other people at the time, and even though American boxing in the heavyweight at the time was dead because of it, but that's not the point. The real point was when he took on Oleg Maskiev in Mexico on March the 8th, 2008, when he fought for the WBC heavyweight title, not the WBA, the WBC. It's a good thing I looked this up on BoxRec right now if I was right or wrong. But you want to know how many viewership numbers were at the time? It stated that at least 30 million people in Nigeria watched this fight, despite it was a 7-hour time difference between Nigeria and Mexico. Estimated the population of Nigeria around that time was 150 million people. And an overall of watched 400 million people in 180 countries, was the most viewers from Africa. Guys, you know how many viewership numbers you can get if you're from China or even from Japan or around other countries that can see a heavyweight title fight against Zhou Zhang with German people around the world? You know how many countries are going to get viewership numbers, or how much viewership you're going to get if you see Ajit Caballel and Zhou Zhang? That's a lot of money. But how many viewers are you going to get to see another British fighter like Daniel DeBlanc get a rematch that he should not deserve to get against Alexander Usyk? I just don't see the viewership numbers there, and that's my problem. I just say, just don't go for it. Just retire from boxing. It's just probably for the best. Like, let Usyk retire the belt. See if Moses Atama can get a chance for a fight, and that's it. If he does win the title, he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't. That's the way life goes. That's all I can say, guys. And I hope Joseph Parker defeats Daniel Dubois because it's probably for the best. And people say Tyson Fury wants to take on AJ. Well, they both have losses, but hey, that would be another interesting fight just for the heck of it. Wow. Oh, man. We're already at the 1 hour mark. Thank gosh. I'm tired, guys. So thanks for watching. I'm going to stop this before my nose gets more redder. With that being said, see you next time. Goodbye, everyone, because, oh boy, sorry for talking too much at the end, but I just had to point all that information out. I hope you viewers don't think I'm a hater, but that's just my opinion. So, yeah, with that being said, thanks for watching this podcast, and Foxwolf out.